never thought I'd be a classics girl. That's me being shallow again. Classics for a reason. It's been absolutely incredible. Good morning, guys. I'm still in my pajamas. Just gone 9 in the morning. My boy is sleeping, so I thought I'd grab a moment to have a little chat about the last, well, half month. So, as I mentioned in my physical TBR exploration video, I am leaning heavily into the classics this month, and I have really enjoyed it. It's been a complete surprise because I never thought I'd be a classics girl. I wasn't when I was younger, that was for sure. I found them really comforting, to be honest, over the last half month or so. So I've been really enjoying them. All I've read so far are The Fellowship of the Ring, the Zhivago, and I'm like a quarter of a way through the Count of Monte Cristo, which has been absolutely amazing so far. My maternity leave is actually over next week. It's my last week on maternity leave this week. Looking back over the last 5 months or so, I'm surprised about where I've gone with my reading journey. I expected to lean more into fantasy or thrillers, or not classics, put it this way. I'm very surprised. I have to say, credit where credit's due, because I had started following Throne of Pages on YouTube, and Bella talking about classics kind of gave me the urge to go back and try them again, try and pick them up again. So thank you, Bella. Yeah, so going back to work, that's going to be interesting. I haven't really talked about this, but I haven't been at work for longer than my maternity leave because I had quite a difficult pregnancy. I spent a significant amount of time in hospital before I actually gave birth. This meant I missed a lot more work than I thought I would. So going back to work next week is going to be interesting. I have missed it though. I missed the regular schedule. Not that I haven't enjoyed my maternity leave, because it's been amazing spending time with my little boy and getting to know him, but it's just all weird, that's all. I'm not sure how to feel. It's a whole mix of emotions, and I guess we'll have to take things as they come. So I want to talk about the Fellowship of the Ring first. This is my edition of The Lord of the Rings. It was actually my dad's edition. I found it when I went back to my parents' house, and I found it in the bookshelves there. I do have an edition of my own, but the cover is a movie tie-in cover, and if you watch my physical TBR video, you'll know how I feel about the tie-in covers. So I really love this cover. I love the vintage look. Super cool. So yeah, as you can see, it's only the first part that's annotated, the Fellowship of the Ring part. When I finish the Count of Monte Cristo, I am going to move on to the Two Towers, and after that the Return of the King, and then I'll start the Hobbit. I do have some plans, Tolkien-related plans. Is it Tolkien or Tolkien? I don't know. But anyway, I'm used to calling him Tolkien. I do have some Tolkien-related plans for the new year, so look out for those videos when they eventually hit your screens. I wanted to talk about the Fellowship of the Ring because I absolutely adored it. This is coming from someone who, when I was younger, the movies came out. I was 14 when the movies came out. I think I was about 14 anyway. But yeah, the movies came out and I immediately wanted to pick up the books and read them, and I did not enjoy them at all, not in the slightest. It was a struggle to get through the 3 books. After I managed to get through them, I didn't pick them up again till now. I have to say, I think my 14-year-old brain wasn't ready for how, should I say, dense? Is Tolkien's writing dense? I don't think my brain was ready for the weight of Tolkien's writing, basically. I was used to Harry Potter. I was obsessed with Harry Potter growing up, and I expected something similar in The Lord of the Rings, and it's not quite what I got. So I think that's why I found it so difficult to get through. But I have to say, it's been a completely different story now at the tender age of 36, almost 37. When I started The Fellowship of the Ring, actually just less than a month ago, I fell in love with it almost immediately. Tolkien's writing is just something else. The descriptions, oh wow, they transport you to places that you can't even imagine unless you've actually picked up one of his books and read it. I fell in love with the characters all over again. It was, for me, rereading Fellowship of the Ring was like watching the movies again. It was that same sort of wonder, and I just loved it. Like, this Fellowship of the Ring marks where I got really into my annotating era. I started annotating properly because the last book I annotated before the Fellowship of the Ring was just random tabs and colours, and definitely not annotated the way it should be. So I actually have a key. Here's my key, hang on. Ooh, that's not sorry. It's a bit rudimentary, but it works for me. And I'll have 2 different keys for the 2 Towers and the Return of the King. We're working off those. I'm going to have a riot of colours over here, eventually. So I'm just going through scanning the notes I made really briefly, and there was one that made me laugh. There's a line, as far as he could remember, Sam slept through the night in deep content, if locked or contented. And I've got a note there saying lucky Sam, which just goes to show how much I'm missing sleep right now, because I am very sleep deprived. With a 4-month-old, it's expected, I guess. Annotating is brilliant because it really does mean I can go back through the book and I can see what my thought process was at the time of reading it, and where I was at in, you know, at that stage of life. And it's going to be funny to look back on it when I do eventually reread The Fellowship of the Ring and see how sleep deprived I was, for example. I was going to have a whole separate key for Gandalf versus Pippin moments. That was one I was going to do. Yeah, I've actually written a note. I need a Pippin/Gandalf moment marker. They actually interact even more in the book than they do in the film, which was surprising. My favourite thing about the whole series, not just the Fellowship of the Ring, is the theme of friendship that runs through it. I think this is quite true for mostly everyone who's read it, but the relationship between Sam and Frodo is absolutely wonderful. It's explored so beautifully in the movie, but reading the Fellowship of the Ring just gave me an idea of how beautifully it translates on paper as well. The moments of friendship, of the absolute devotion to each other. It's beautiful, and it reeled me in all over again. As I said, it was like watching the same feeling I had watching the movies for the first time. Just that sense of wonder. It was absolutely beautiful. So I'm glad actually, it was my husband who convinced me to pick up the Lord of the Rings again. So kudos to him, and I'm grateful for him pushing me to read them again, because it's been such a wonderful experience and I would recommend it to anyone. And if the length of the whole series scares you, don't be scared. You'd be whizzing through it. You'd be loving it, I promise you. Fellowship of the Ring was definitely a 5-on-5 read for me, and I can't wait to pick up The Two Towers and The Return of the King now. And then The Hobbit. I'm really excited about those. After The Fellowship of the Ring, I'm excited to move on to a completely different classic, and I've been meaning to explore the world of Russian literature for a while, but I never got around to it. One book that was gifted to me when I was younger, this was gifted to me by my sister, Dr. Zhivago. I recently rediscovered it. I had never actually managed to read it, but I thought I'd give it a shot now. I mentioned this in my previous video. I actually rated it a 3.5 out of 5 altogether, which doesn't do justice to the writing, because Pasternak's writing is absolutely incredible. It's so poetic and lyrical, just sets the scene so beautifully, and the 3.5 that I gave the book in the end is largely because I decided to pick up this book just around the time of my tonsillectomy. So I don't think I was in the right frame of mind for it, because in the end It was a very heavy read, which is something to be expected of Russian literature, really, because traditionally they are meant to be quite heavy to read. 3.5 isn't related to how I felt about the style of writing. It was absolutely glorious. I could picture myself in the actual setting. It was so beautifully done. What I loved about Dr. Zhivago was its placing in history, because I've mentioned this before, but I studied Soviet history when I was younger, and my first master's is in Soviet history. And even though my master's focused on Stalin more than anything, and Stalin's regime, and Dr. Zhivago was set years before that, I do have some knowledge of that time. So reading Dr. Zhivago did take me back to my studies, and it was such a magical journey to go back. Magical, considering what life was like then in Russia, just as the revolution was raging. So I was fully in my annotating era during Dr. Zhivago. As you can see, I had a lot of notes. Yeah. One of the things that I wouldn't say bothered me, but one of the things that, I'm trying to find the words, one thing that annoyed me about Dr. Zhivago is that it's painted as this magical love story between Yura and Dara, but there's so much more to it than just a love story. Whilst the romance is the heart of it, there's so much more to it that could be focused on, there's so much more to it than just a romance. And the romance is almost inconsequential compared to some of the other stuff that goes on. That said, it is a love story. I do like a good romance, it's just not my absolute favourite, so I'm more about the historical context and everything that was going on in that sense in Dr. Zhivago. I knew it as a romance before I had read it, so I expected full-on romance more than anything else, which is fine because it's there, but it's not as prevalent as you might expect. The 3.5 that I gave it, the 3.5 out of 5, I do believe is relative to the fact that I was in so much pain reading it after my tonsillectomy. So I might pick it up again in the future and see if it will get a higher rating, because I do believe it's worth more than a 3.5, but now I will stick with my rating. I'll stick to my guns. I will continue to preach about how beautiful the writing is, the historical setting and all that. So at the end of the day, I do recommend it. I do recommend Dr. Zhivago, and just don't read it if you're recovering from an operation. That's what, pick it up at a different time. So after Dr. Zhivago, I decided to go for, I was going to go for Frankenstein, but the edition I have is an old edition. I actually got it here. There you go. The cover really annoys me. The spine is sun bleached because it's been sitting in a bookcase for ages, and it's actually gotten bleached from the sun. And this annoys me. To get a new edition at some point and read that. That's me being shallow again. I had ordered a few classics last month, and one that really pulled me in was The Count of Monte Cristo, which got slightly damaged in the mail, as you can see. I'm about a quarter of the way through. Annotations, and it's been such a ride so far. It's been absolutely incredible. I'd never read Dumas before, and I'm so glad I picked this up. I'm now ready to read the rest of his works based on this because it's so good. It is long. It's 1,243 pages long, but the way he writes just flows and you keep reading and reading, and I actually read over 100 pages in a sitting, which is really saying something for me, because you just want to keep reading and you want to keep wanting to discover more, and adventure in it is just wow. I'm really happy I picked this up because I would have never thought about it. Now it's led me to want to read more of his works, even though I haven't even gotten halfway through this yet. But I will be looking into The Three Musketeers and The Man in the Iron Mask, and he's got a sequel to The Three Musketeers, which I'd also look into. But Ma has been a revelation for me, and he's definitely on my list of favourite authors now. Count of Monte Cristo going really well, really enjoying it, love reading it every night. I will let you know how it ends up, whether I manage to finish it before my maternity leave is over. The classics have been amazing, and I can't believe just how amazing they've been. I don't know why I'm so surprised, because they're classics for a reason. Before this, I thought classics were relatively boring compared to new reads, which is bad because I never gave them a chance, and I'm glad I did. So once again, thank you, Bella, for inspiring me to pick up a classic. I do want to build up a classics shelf. I've got space in this room, so I'll be looking into shelves to house my classics on. We'll be going back to the non-classics as well soon, but for now I'm just enjoying the journey, and I'm enjoying discovering them like this, so I'm in no rush. Just want to show you the stack. My beautiful stack of classics. I've got more behind me. So, as I mentioned, my maternity leave is coming to a close. I'm not sure how this is going to impact my content making. I've got to see to slide that in along with work and taking care of the kids and everything going on in between. But I have enjoyed the journey so far. About books has been absolutely wonderful. It's something I love, so it came naturally to me. I've just got to work out the logistics at the end of the day. I'll be around, and I'll be hopefully more organised about when I upload videos. So it's actually the next day because my memory card filled up and my camera cut off the recording. So I just wanted to end this by saying thank you for following along. Keep following the rest of my classics journey and watch how I try to navigate working life and content making life and motherhood and everything in between. So I'll see you in the next one. Happy reading.